Fiji's government says it's concerned about allegations seasonal workers from Fiji are being exploited in Australia. The Fair Work Ombudsman says it's investigating reports of low pay and poor conditions. But in the meantime, the Australian government officials have told the Fijians if they don't return to work for the contractor being investigated, they'll have to leave Australia. Social Affairs correspondent Norman Hermont reports.
It's been nearly a month since these workers from Fiji quit working for an Australian contractor over allegations of exploitation. On this day, they'd have to wait a little bit longer to hear from Australia's government.
There was no understanding by the department or the Australian government that the AWU would be attending the meeting or that media would be present.
Despite your opinion about this being a private meeting, I represent these people's industrial interests and I have a right to be there.
The Australian Workers' Union stepped in after the ABC reported last month many of the Fijian seasonal workers were receiving little or no net pay, some earning less than $10 a week after deductions to pick fruit and vegetables. They were also charged $120 per week each to stay in basic caravans.
And we're sharing the same bed with my friend.
Back in Cobram, in northern Victoria, the meeting with the workers eventually started. The union stayed. The ABC was asked to leave. When it was over, the government officials here weren't talking.
Did you address any of the issues they've been having with the contractor?
In fact, those allegations are being investigated by a separate agency, the Fair Work Ombudsman. At this meeting, the Fijians were given a choice: return to work for their visa sponsor, AFS Contracting, or leave Australia.
They're pushing us to go back home, like every one of us is not happy. And we're going back home with nothing.
To make things worse, many of these workers will return home to villages devastated by the recent cyclone in Fiji.
We have a family back home, they rely on us. And the situation back home, the cyclone, that's very unfair.
The ABC tried repeatedly to contact Tony Yamancoal, the owner of AFS Contracting. We returned to the farm where the Fijians picked tomatoes, hoping to speak with him.
We just want to talk to Tony. Do you know where he is? He's a hard man to find.
He wasn't at home either. A woman who said she was a friend couldn't help.
Hey, we're looking for Tony. Do you know where we can find him?
He's at work.
Tony Yamancoal may not want to talk about the pay and conditions of Fijian seasonal workers, but the country's Minister for Employment does.
We've asked our counterparts in Australia to have a look at the conditions and all the complaints that have been raised by our seasonal workers, and then they will come back to us, and that is the discussions that we are having at the moment.
The Australian government says it is talking to Fiji about these allegations, but it won't say when these seasonal workers will have to leave or when their grievances over pay and conditions will be resolved. Norman Hermont, ABC News, Cobram, Victoria.